So, Royal Ascot. And have you ever been? I haven't been. Don't really want to go, to be honest. Not really into the top hat culture. But
No, I was who was I talking to the other day about race courses, and he was telling me he loves Ascot. I haven't been to Royal Ascot. I've been to Ascot, and as a racetrack, it's a fantastic racetrack. But apparently it's great crack. My mate had him last year. He went over for, was it the Ascot sale? And he went to a local bar afterwards. Got talking to these Americans. They ended up just randomly getting on so well. They're like, let's stay over and go to Ascot the next day. They were involved in one of the American winners afterwards. Did the best day ever. It's been hugely recommended to me. Obviously, having the top hat and tails mightn't be for everyone, but great crack.
Okay, let's go into it. Aidan O'Brien actually did a stable tour with David Jennings in the Racing Post, which is quite interesting, especially around one horse, which was Henry Longfellow. We'll get into that in a minute. The Queen Anne Stakes is on Tuesday at 2:30. Going through some of the market leaders here that are in the advanced declarations: Inspiral, Sharon, Factor Cheval, Big Rock, Audience. So a lot of this is down to reminiscing around the Lockinge Stakes, which Audience won kind of from the front. Big Rock was only sixth, having changed stables, first run of the year. Sharon is consistent, third in the St. James's Palaces over the course and distance last year. Won twice this year before second in the Lockinge. And Inspiral was only fourth in the Lockinge. She was a really good horse last year, beating the next second in this last year before winning at Doyville and at Santa Anita, the Breeders' Cup meeting. Yeah,
touched off by triple time in the race last year. This race, for me, you mentioned the Lockinge. I think what will be a big factor is the ground. We're recording this on Thursday. It's heavy rain the next sort of couple of days in Ireland anyway. If it gets into the ground, I give Big Rock another chance. It'll be if the ground turns soft. He was very, very disappointed, to be fair, in the Lockinge. Inspiral, it was kind of a weird race in that the race was set up for Inspiral, but she didn't really fire. I would expect her to bounce back. And to be fair, the runner-up you mentioned, the race, Sharian, ran very, very solid, well clear third. That was my selection. I kind of felt that the race might be run to suit him from an each-way angle, but if it turns soft, I'd give Big Rock another chance, JD. I think he's just much more effective on that sort of ground.
Bolted up in the QE2 Stakes over the course and distance last year on that soft ground before changing stables. Factor Cheval was second in that race at Ascot last year behind Big Rock. Might have improved, though, from 4 to 5 on better ground after his win in Dubai in March. Might prefer further, but if it's not that bad, the ground, if the rain doesn't get into it, Factor Cheval for me might be one to have a look at in the Queen Anne Stakes at Royal Ascot on Tuesday, the 2:30 over a mile. Then the Coventry Stakes is over 6 furlongs at 3:05. Camille Pizarro was second, beaten the head over the distance in a Group 3. The Curragh will benefit for the experience. Carrot of the county. Joseph Bryan says he's a very laid back, was always a positive for 2-year-olds in a race like this. Won a 6 furlong maiden impressively at the Curragh in April on soft ground. And Al Qudra, 2 runs at Newmarket before winning over 6 at Lingfield. Hard really to tell his true ability. I like Carrot of the county here.
Yeah, I don't really know what Aidan's going to run in this.
Probably Camille Pizarro. He's not going to run Whistle Jacket. They'll run him in the race on Thursday.
Whistle Jacket for me is a very, very interesting horse. Camille Pizarro, to be fair, he didn't. I don't think he lost an awful lot in defeat the last day. He was sent off 4 to 6 in the Curragh, touched off by Arizona Blaze, who, to be fair, had very strong form going into the race. And they did pull a little bit clear of the third. I do wonder, how many Irish horses will run in it, and it's interesting to see. And Decite as well is a very, very interesting horse by Pinatubo, who's been a sire that there's been a lot of talk about. He's made an okay start, I think, his horses at the racecourse. This fellow was sent off 7-2, first time out for Carl Burke at York, and looked quite green, but was good in the closing stages. I'd probably go with Camille Pizarro. I'm not entirely sure how good the Irish 2-year-olds are this season. I think we might have better chance late in the week, but he's available at 5 to 1, and as you say, he probably will be the stable selection. And he was 4 to 6 the last day. I don't think he did a lot wrong at the Curragh.
For 2-year-olds, when you're talking about a 2-year-old progressing through the season, what's required for them? Because they can be so green, they can be so, I suppose, unaware of what's really going on, and they're just trying to learn the whole trade of being a sprinter. It's quite an interesting division.
Yeah, and a lot of them aren't sprinters either. A lot of Coventry horses will be Guineas horses next season, and they can always kind of go back to the Commonwealth Cup or that. I suppose different trainers will. It depends as well, JD, on what you're. We spoke about the racing documentary earlier. Racing for a lot of people is a means to how to kind of survive with the resources you have, and most trainers will probably have to sell. So if you want to have a horse that you want to sell, you want to get him ready earlier on as possible. Whereas the likes of Aidan O'Brien can train a horse to peak later on. And a lot of these known in ever horse that he has, he's 3 or 4 entered in this alone. They are built to progress physically over time. And I don't think you're gunning the hell out of them this early in the season. Like, it's a long season. You'll be going right until into September anyway. And it's different trainers, I guess, and some horses are small, they're kind of bullet 2-year-olds, but generally, they're going to be learning with experience and learning when they race as well.
Okay, so I'm going to go for Cardo the Canty. I think you're going for Camille Pizarro.
I am indeed.
3:45 the King Charles, the third stakes over 5 furlongs. This is quite competitive. But Big Evs is the one that's interesting. Only 3. Course and distance winner. Very exciting. Won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year. Does he win this?
Yeah, I thought this was desperately tough. I'm going to go with the horse Regional, who ran at the Curragh the last day for Edward Bethel, Callum Rodriguez to ride. He's finished second to Mitbahi the last day. That's solid form. Regional actually had the option of going, I think, running in Haydock that weekend. And he's a horse that'll probably go out and make the run. And it's really, really tough, this race. You know, it's kind of evidence as well, JD, of the lack of Irish sprinters. We might have, I think Ken Condon's horse might run in it. And it would basically be our kind of one of our only real sprinters, whose name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, we don't have many sprinters. It's fair to say this is a proper Group 1. I don't know, is it just we don't breed sprinters in this country so much, but we just never seem to have them.
There's a few Australian horses coming over. As4 has won a Group 2 and down under. Ground conditions might suit better than Haydock when he ran last. And Curdos was second at the festival last year. Won at Haydock. Can't be discounted as an improver, Curdos.
No, and I think actually when I was looking earlier, I think Moss Tucker's still in the race for Ken actually, yeah. Just confirming that. Ran a little bit disappointing the last day behind Regional, but will be better dropping back to 5 furlongs, so I'll be hoping that he runs well for Ken.
Believing, I would question if this horse has got the class for this one, Believing. Big Evs, though, I'm disappointed if he doesn't win. We have the James's Palace Stakes, 4:25 over a mile. So Henry Longfellow for Aidan O'Brien was very impressive as a juvenile, won the National Stakes at the Curragh over 7. Then disappointed when 8th in the French Guineas. But we know with City of Troy that a Guineas flop can be okay. And that was always obviously over a mile and a half, the Derby. But it seems from Aidan's comments to the Racing Post that Henry Longfellow is a different horse now. And he can definitely put it up to two really classy types, Notable Speech and Rosalie. And this is a really good race.
Yeah, Rosalian and Notable Speech, you mentioned the first 2 home, the Guineas. River Tiber, who was 3rd in the Irish Guineas. It'd be interesting if they go back here, because it kind of looks like I'd say he might end up in the Commonwealth Cup, because it really sort of looks like he doesn't quite get the mile. At the Curragh, he didn't, for all that. Like, he might come on for that run. But I don't know, JD. Like, the Rosalian and Hatem, they were actually closer together at the Curragh, which suggested to me that Hatem was sort of improving. And would suggest to me that maybe Rosalian didn't improve massively from Newmarket. Like, he didn't beat him as convincingly. And Notable Speech really beat him very convincingly, I thought. This horse, he was sent off 16s in the Guineas, even though he was rated 109 and was unbeaten. And I think it was this kind of prejudice against the all-weather. I think people didn't really rate him because he'd run on the all-weather. I felt he was excellent on the day. It was good ground at Newmarket. For a horse that hadn't run on grass before, for me, he was by far the best horse in the race. I'm looking now, he's only 11-8. I think he'll get better than that. But he'd be one of my bets of the week. Henry Longfellow just hasn't done it in terms of form to me. The Newmarket form is working out, and he was the much the best horse in the day, although maybe City of Troy will be the best of them long term.
Out of Dubawi, there's Notable Speech. And yeah, the form was ranked. You know, they're very sweet on him at the yard. Charlie Appleby's yards. He's the one to beat. Like,
Rosalian might be improving, to be fair, and I wouldn't say he's not going to give him a race, but yeah.
Yeah. Metropolitan won the French Guineas, but will he prefer the quicker round? I'm not so sure.
I think that was a mess of a race as well, to be honest.
And Darlinghurst won a Group 3 Ashanti, had class questions to answer. I think Notable Speech, agree with you, will win the St. James's Palace Stakes on the Tuesday. The Wednesday, the Duke of Cambridge Stakes over a mile. Laurel was an impressive juvenile, but hasn't been seen since 10th in the Lockinge last year. She must be working well, or he, because is this a fillies race? I think it is, yeah. The Duke of Cambridge Stakes.
It is.
Yeah. So I was right the first time. So Laurel, yeah, she must be doing something at home, because she's favourite anti-post. Rogue Millennium won the race last year, 3rd to Ocean Jewel, William McCreary's horse, the Curragh last time. And Ocean Jewel, that was her first run of the season, so it's not the case that Rogue Millennium will just automatically improve past Ocean Jewel if Ocean Jewel won first time out.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Rogue Millennium. There's been so much money on this horse. Was basically 10-1 in the race last year. Won a neck. Was bought obviously with the view to the pedigree that she has and the fact I think they spent like $1.5 million on her or something. But she can also target loads of races as well. So with the pedigree she has by Dubawi, she's Dubawi out of an AF mare. It'll be interesting to see where they go with this horse pedigree wise and down the line. She's obviously bought with that in mind. But to be honest, I thought she was even money at the Curragh behind Ocean Jewel. Joseph has said his older horses will improve as the year goes on. He's trained them with the view to several races, a long season. I do think she'll come on from the run. And she was a bit unlucky as well. She's definitely value for closer. I'll be very interested in her to see what price she is.
425, the Prince of Wales Stakes over a mile and 2. This is the rematch, if it does happen, between Augusta Rodan and White Birch. Can't really see anything else troubling them. They were 1 and 2 in the Tattersalls Gold Cup in favour of White Birch, who's really obviously improved from 3 to 4. And Augusta Rodan sometimes can be in and out, but he has won an Epsom Derby, an Irish Champion Stakes, a Breeders' Cup turf. Probably will come on a lot for the first run of the season. Can't wait for this one.
Yeah, it's a cracker. I wouldn't necessarily agree now that it's a 2-horse race, which I'm putting words in your mouth there. Maybe you say you can't say anything troubling the other two.
Not really. Well, can you?
Passenger is very interesting. Like the funny thing with Passenger is he's also by Ulysses, and Ulysses is like a 9 grand sire who wouldn't have really been spoken about much at all, but he could have the favourite and second favourite, or the first and second home here in the shape of White Birch and Passenger. I really don't think Augusta Rodan. It might have been. There was rain on the day at the Curragh, so maybe he wasn't quite at his best. But White Birch destroyed him. He's just getting better. I spoke to Colin Keane about him at Tipperary since he's like trip wise, ground wise. Said there's absolutely wouldn't be pigeonholing this horse. Love to see the Murphys have a small yard in Cork who do very well in the business of horses. They do well in terms of buying horses relatively cheap and selling them on, but they've really good horse here. And if they can convince the owner, who is Mr. or Mrs. Regalado Gonzalez, if they can convince her to keep this horse on the go as a 5-year-old, they're going to have so much fun. He'd be one of my bets of the week.
Okay. The Gold Cup,
especially if it rains.
Right.
Yeah. Gold
Cup on Thursday, 2.5 miles. Kyprios has won it before. 6 times he won in 2022, including this race, back from injury last year. Was won twice this year, he's a horse that never does too much in front, always does enough, a course and distance winner. I still think he's the one to beat in this. Vauban is interesting, a former favourite for the Melbourne Cup, a former Triumph Hurdle winner at Cheltenham, a second to York last time out for William Mullins.
Yeah, it's I guess like Kyprios is one of my favourite horses in training. He's from a fantastic family, and he, as you say, JD, his way of racing is just really endearing. He kind of doesn't do as much as he could do until he sort of really needs to, and that's kind of, I suppose, exactly what you need for these types of horses. The dam has produced brilliant winners, and Aidan O'Brien seems to have brought him back. To be fair, he's been workmanlike enough, and he's kind of preps for this, but he's running over a trip a bit short of his best. He's not going to be near his best yet. The one proviso would be, like, he did have serious issues. If you're taking the price that he is, will he be entirely at his best? But like Aidan has shown in this race, particularly with Yates, how well he can train them for it, and this is 100% being his target this year at the expense of everything else.
Anything that you would see as a danger?
Well, Vauban is interesting. Like,
will it stay, Vauban?
Yeah, I'd be worried about that. I would be worried about that. Obviously, he, Willie's mad to win some big race at Ascot this week. Like, Vauban's performance last year, in fairness, was extraordinary. I'm not sure 2.5 against Kyprios is what he wants. So, but in terms of ability, you're probably relying on Kyprios to disappoint. But Coltrane's a very good horse in his day. It was a brilliant race last year as well, and I hope it's as good as that. But it is great to see Kyprios back. Polish Jim was the dam as well, JD. And just so I don't forget here, Free Eagle, Custom Cut, Search for a Song, Sapphire, Falcon 8, Ammo Grace, Rich History, all winners from that dam, which is incredible. And Kyprios has been, I love this horse.
Not so sure if Gregory has it in his locker to do it, personally. Just going through the William Mullins entries, actually, now you say it. My Leica, Below CO, I think that's the right way to call it. Ethical Diamond and Absurd, they're all declared for next week. William Mullins.
Yeah, and I do remember back in Coltrane the year last year. I think it was going mad. He travelled actually well, and he would have a chance. But yeah, Willie has some very, very good flat horses who are good jumpers, and I think he just enjoyed it immensely last year. Having the Vauban Absurd 1-2 was extraordinary stuff, and I'd say it's one of his last remain. I'm not saying he's not going to be around for a long time. I'd say it's one of his last big ambitions to win the Melbourne Cup. And, don't forget how short a price Vauban was last year. What did we agree last week in terms of the Kentucky Derby was our favourite in terms of...
Yeah, the Decadent Depraved.
Yeah. You could go the Melbourne Cup, the Arc, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup.
Epsom Derby. Yeah.
The Epsom Derby. But, Melbourne would be interesting. I think there's a story that Willie went over to see a horse work on a plane before and came back. That's how obsessed he is with winning the Melbourne Cup. Okay. He went over to see him work in Australia and came back on the plane afterwards.
That's a lot of good air miles.
Yeah. I presume he was flying in a nice plane.
It's the HOS Syndicate. They had Absurd, who I believe won last year at Royal Ascot.
Was second.
Yeah,
it was second to Vauban. I backed him. He was Frankie rode him.
He won at York. He won the Ebor.
Won the Ebor. Frankie rode him again. At Cheltenham. And won at Cheltenham. Brilliant ride with Paul Townend. Very interesting horse actually going forward. I don't know what they're doing with him because he's so many options once he gets his better ground.
Yeah, so it's the HOS Syndicate. They own Absurd, they own this My Leica, and they own Ethical Diamond. So
all entered in.
Keep an eye out for these colours.
Ethical Diamond's a very interesting horse because I
only one entry.
I'd be thinking of the Galway Hurdle for him because he should have a mark. He's run 3 times as a juvenile. Zarek the Brave won the race last year in the Galway Hurdle as a 4-year-old for Willie, and Ethical Diamond he just hasn't had his ground at all yet over hurdles. Very interesting horse.
So for members, I recommend a look at Whistle Jacket in the Norfolk Stakes for Aidan O'Brien on the Thursday, Royal Ascot. Probably be short enough price, but I think he'll win. Do you have one? Is an audible
White
speech?
Birch would be my...
White Birch.
Yeah, I just think if Aidan trained him, he'd be odds on.
Okay. Episode 29, The Racing Pod. Johnny Ward, thank you so much.
Cheers, Judy.
We'll speak soon. We'll be back next Friday. We'll look forward to having your company then on The Racing Pod.
The Racing Pod.
On Off the Ball.
With William Hill. Best odds guaranteed on all Irish and UK racing. 18 plus. See gamblingcare.ie.